Hello students, today we are going to discuss the topic History of Computers covered under the subject Computer Fundamentals. So the computers have existed for more than 70 years. The development of computers goes hand in hand with the development of electronics. Computers were developed with the need to perform large number of calculations accurately in lesser time. Initially, calculating devices like abacus and Pascal were developed to speed up calculations. So abacus, or which is also called the counting frame, consists of the wooden frame with beads sliding through the columns. Blaise Pascal developed the first working calculator called Pascaline during the period 1623 to 1662, which could perform addition and subtraction. German mathematician Leibniz during the period 1646 to 1716 improved the Pascal's calculator by adding the facility of multiplication and division to it. Then during 1792 to 1871, Charles Babbage, a mathematician in Cambridge University, UK, developed a machine called difference machine. It was a single-purpose machine used to tabulate polynomial functions. By single-purpose machine, we mean that it could perform only one kind of task on a variety of data. So he later developed a general-purpose machine called the Analytical Engine, which he proposed in 1837. So the analytical machine proposed by Charles Babbage had four parts: the input, the store or memory, the mill, or the output. The input is similar to the input devices used today, but at that time the punch card reader was used for input. The store or memory could keep 1000 words of 50 decimal digits. The mill or the computation unit or the ALU could perform different set of calculations by changing the program in punch cards. The output section or punched cards were used for getting the output. A software programmer was also required for the analytical machine, so Charles Babbage recruited Lady Ada Lovelace as the programmer, and hence she is called the world's first programmer. A modern programming language, Ada, is named so in her honor. In the late 1880s, Herman Hollerith invented data storage on paper cards with 80 columns, readable by a machine. Data could be entered on a single card by a data entry operator by using a key punch machine. These cards could be processed using a machine called tabulator. The use of these machines in 1890 United States Census produced successful and timely results which led to its wide use. So as we see here, pictures of the key punch machine, the tabulating machine, and the punch card. The other achievements in the non-electronic era. So this era is usually known as the non-electronic era, and in other achievements made during this period include the computer developed in this time. John Attensoff of Iowa State College and George Stibitz of Bell Laboratories developed advanced machines which generated considerable interest in scientific community to develop computers. Howard Aiken at Harvard University in 1944 developed Mark I. It was a relay logic-based machine to simplify long calculations and could store 72 words of 23 decimal digits. It could execute a calculation in 6 seconds. This was the end of the era of non-electronic computers. The second part of the history, which is the electronic era, is divided into 5 generations according to the advancements in electronics. These 5 generations are: first generation, computers based on vacuum tubes. Second generation computers were based on transistors. Third generation computers were based on small scale integrated circuits. Fourth generation computers were based on large scale integrated circuits. And the fifth generation computers based on artificial intelligence. The first generation computers were based on vacuum tubes. These were very big in size and weighed 30 tons. These computers consumed a lot of energy and required large cooling systems. Punch cards, paper tapes, magnetic tape was used as input or output device. The computers of this generation were expensive and affordable only to large organizations. The computers in this generation were using machine code as the programming language. That means the programming language was written in the form of zeros and ones. Some of the computers in this generation are ENIAC, UNIVAC, EDVAC. We discuss ENIAC. Mosley and Eckert in 1947 developed first electronic computer in US and called it Electronic Numerical Integrator and Computer, or ENIAC. It consisted of 18,000 vacuum tubes and 1,500 relays. It weighed 30 tons and consumed 140 kilowatts of power. It had 20 registers for storing data, and each register could hold a 10-digit number. It was programmed by 6,000 multi-position switches and innumerable patch cords. Other first-generation computers, after the success of ENIAC, many computers were developed in the following years. Some of them are EDSAC, developed by Maurice Wilkes at Cambridge University, UK in 1949. John von Neumann built an advanced version of ENIAC called IAS in Princeton University. In this period, Mosley and Eckert developed UNIVAC, which became the largest selling computer of this time. The second generation computers. With the invention of transistors in 1948 in Bell Laboratories, a transition was seen in the evolution of computers. The second generation computers were based on transistors. Transistors were cheaper, they consumed lesser power, and were compact in size. They were more reliable and faster than the first generation computers made of vacuum tubes. The cost of the computers in this generation was cheaper as compared to the first generation systems. These computers were based on the assembly language, whereas the first generation computers only used machine language. Some of the second generation computers are TX0, PDP-1, DEC, IBM 7090, etc. The third generation computers use integrated circuits. Silicon integrated circuits were invented by Norbert Noyce in 1958, in which dozens of transistors could be packed into a single plastic package called the integrated circuit, or famously known as IC. This led to reduction in size of the computers. Therefore, this generation computers were smaller in size as compared to the second generation computers. They consumed lesser power and were much faster than the earlier computers. A new class of computers called the mini computer were created at this time. IBM 360 or System 360 was the best computer based in this technology. DEC produced a powerful PDP-8 and followed by the series PDP-11. Keyboards and displays were also developed during this period to facilitate real-time interaction with computers. Multi-user and multi-programming operating systems were developed during this time. So we see here a picture of the vacuum tube, which was used in the first generation computers, transistors, which were used in the second generation computers, and integrated circuit, which is the third generation computers. The fourth generation computers were based on very large scale integration. Large number of ICs, around 1000 to 2000, could now be condensed into a single large chip. Hence, the size of the computers reduced even further. Power consumption also reduced in these computers. This generation saw the use of personal computers due to fall in prices of microprocessors. These computers were microprocessor based. Intel developed the first microprocessor 4004 in 1972 and introduced the first 4-bit microprocessor based computer. Gary Gildell also developed an operating system program called CPM for 8-bit microprocessor, and this program became the basis of the later DOS operating system, which is the disk operating system by Microsoft. A personal computer became affordable in the fourth generation and was now used in offices, computer labs, and homes. Graphical User Interface GUI was also introduced in the fourth generation computers. Windows became the largest operating system used in technology with the release of Windows 95, Windows 98, Windows XP. In 1980, Apple created the Apple Macintosh operating system. Small application software like window processors, spreadsheets, databases were also available in this generation. Laptops were easily available. Laser printers, inkjet printers, scanners were also available. This generation also added development of network architectures, local area and wide area networks. The fifth generation computers. The fifth generation computers are based on ultra large scale integration ULSI chips, and ULSI chip contains millions of components on a single integrated circuit chip. The fifth generation computers have shrunk to tiny sized palm tops, notebooks, tablets, or even body worn computers. Information is not limited to one language in the fifth generation computers. They are based on artificial intelligence and parallel processing. All the high level languages like C, C, Java, .NET are used in this generation. Open source languages like Java, Python, MySQL, PHP are being used to develop the generation application. Natural language processing, nanotechnology, big data, cloud computing, IoT, machine learning are being used in this generation. So with this, we wind up with the generations of the computers. And to sum up, we have studied that the entire history of computers can be divided into two parts. First one is the non-electronic era, in which machines were mostly based on the calculation machines, and the second part of the history is the electronic era, which is divided into 5 generations. The first generation starting from vacuum tubes, then transistors, then integrated circuits, very large integrated circuits, and then coming to the fifth generation computers, which are based on artificial intelligence and parallel processing. I hope this was of use to you. For further queries, you can contact me on my email, which is preetidube2000 @yahoo.com. Thank you.